Hi, I have a first person. Hello. Hi, everyone. So this is my first time doing this, so I think maybe I'll just kind of awkwardly let people join for a second before we start. You can kind of see there's art behind me. Welcome. My name's Chase Barney, if you haven't met me before. And this is my show, Too Much of a Good Thing is Wonderful. And I'm going to talk about it in a second. Hello, people. All right. Well, there's some people, so let's start. Like I was saying, my name is Chase Barney. This is my show here at SooVAC called Too Much of a Good Thing is Wonderful. I want to thank Carolyn and Allison and the team at SooVAC for helping me get this all set up and lit and supporting me and letting me take over their Instagram to do this Instagram Live. And this is also made possible by a grant from the Minnesota State Arts Board. I'm a 2020 Minnesota State Arts Board recipient, so thank you to them for their support. So I'm just going to start. Originally, the plan was to have her, my friend and mentor, come and do a conversation with me, but she had a conflict come up for today, so we pre-recorded our conversation earlier this week, and if you go to the SooVAC website, you can find a link to that YouTube video where we talked for about an hour, and she asked me questions, and it was pretty fun. So I would recommend checking that out. I'll try not to cover all the same stuff that her and I talked about, just so that maybe I'm assuming this could be interesting, and then that could be interesting. So we'll see how that goes. Well, I guess we'll start first by talking about the title, which is Too Much of a Good Thing is Wonderful. I kind of started thinking about the title. It came from the way that Liberace ended his show in Vegas. He would get up on stage and say, "Just remember, too much of a good thing is wonderful," and then strut off stage. And during lockdown and quarantine, I was thinking about this show, and I really loved the idea of more is more, and that wasn't really a possibility in quarantine. So my rule kind of became I had access to a kiln and to a ceramic studio and clay. So everything in this show, in my mind, I wanted to be ceramic. And with that said, I'll flip this around. I'm thinking I'm able to do that and show you the space. So we can I'll start talking about this first piece here. To me, the titles became kind of important because the imagery is a little bit more understated. I wanted the titles to be a little bit of a mouthful. So this title for this piece is called Margaret Fletcher West Smith. No photo is known to exist. And this is a lamp. I think sometimes when you think about ceramics, you think about function. And I don't normally make things that would be considered functional. So I liked the idea, thinking about this woman, and I stumbled upon her in a genealogy book. My great-great-grandfather's name is Jesse Smith, and he is a first cousin of Joseph Smith, the founder of the Mormon Church. And in that book, it shows he had 4 wives and 45 children. In the talk with Pa, I mistakenly said he had 42 children, but he has 45 children. And Margaret was his second wife, and she was the sister of his first wife. But in that genealogy book, she didn't have a photo. She only had a drawing, and it says no photo was known to exist, so they used photographs they had of her sister to render her. And she only had 2 of the 45 children for Jesse Smith. And I just got thinking about like the function of polygamy and the function of these women's bodies. And in my mind, it seemed like polygamy was a really practical way to grow a new religion really quickly. And I started thinking about how, I don't know, like maybe there was a certain amount of value placed on her or not placed on her because she only gave 2 children and she died early and there was no photo. So I kind of let my imagination run wild about her. And I talk a little bit more about that with Pa, so we won't dwell on her too much. But that's her. And I came up with the idea for her form by she's based off of an Avon bottle, perfume bottle that my grandma Georgia had in her house. She had like a collection of these kitschy perfume bottles, and this was the Prairie Woman. So that is where she comes from. So we'll just kind of move on, and I'll ask for questions too if that's something that we want to do. So this next piece, this is called Dolph, or The Master of My Universe, circa 1990. I'm going to see if I can get it better by flipping it here. Oh, there he is. That looks way better. This is done on clay. It's like a clay tablet. It's really thick. It's hanging on the wall, and I carved the image on there. And this is Dolph Lundgren. He played He-Man in the live-action He-Man movie from 1987. It was not a good movie, but I think I stumbled onto it at the movie store when I was little, and I really liked him, and I'm not sure why. Well, I'm pretty sure I know why, but he was just like, he was one of those like European imports kind of around the same time as like Arnold Schwarzenegger. And he was also in the Rocky films, but I keep coming back to him a lot. I don't normally like to show like a certain type of body type, but there was something so like heroic about him. And now like as an adult, like I'm not attracted to this kind of body type really at all, but so yeah, this was Dolph, and the theme for this show is also just kind of, it was thinking about like the people, places, things, and objects that have kind of formed my identity over the years. So I think Dolph really touched me. Hello. So the next one we're going to, this is Siegfried and Manticore, the tiger that attacked Roy, is the full title. So there's like a story about this, and I go into it in pretty good detail in the YouTube video with Pa. So if you want to check that out, but the shorthand of this is kind of like Siegfried and Roy, Elton John, Liberace, all these, kind of wink, wink, nudge, nudge entertainers from when I was growing up. It was like never really stated outright that they were gay, more so with Elton John, but the other 3 not so much. But they were so over the top, and like their costumes were amazing. And I randomly in my 20s, like ended up on a flight, and I sat next to one of them. Whether it was Siegfried or Roy, you'll have to tune in to the YouTube interview I have with Pa Her, because I don't want to have to repeat myself. But it was a really influential experience in that, you know, it really pulled back the curtain on this kind of like ambiguous sexuality that I sort of always had to read into, but I was able to like grasp it a little bit more, and like that generation and that time. And I think about that conversation a lot. And so this piece is Manticore, and I think about that as being Siegfried. And actually the day I pulled the tiger out of the kiln was the day that Roy died of COVID randomly. So I didn't plan that, but that's something that happened. Okay, so next, let's go here. And while we're here, I'll just kind of keep going. I don't want to have to I won't tell a story on every single one of them, but. And then this is the next one. Does it? No, I don't think it does it. I'm learning, everyone. The flame pattern, and then this kind of like strange skull pattern that's on this ribbon. I would associate these two because I noticed when I was driving around and seeing trucks, like these big jacked up trucks that these men will drive. They like, and they're normally men, or the ones driving these trucks I'm talking about, but they like jack these trucks up and they like trick them out, and they're like their pride and joy. And then on the back windows, there's like these decals, and for some reason, like the two patterns I notice the most are like flames or skulls, which I think is kind of, there's something kind of sweet about the fact that they want to decorate and they want to use pattern, but like they're only limited to these two things. So this is a ribbon, and I call it King of the Road Manly Acceptability. And then the other one is King of the Road Heartburn, because obviously it's hard. I'm going to try not to over-explain everything. So this piece is another mouthful. It's called White Diamonds on a Violet Bench, featuring Daisy and Delilah. And this piece is inspired by Elizabeth Taylor and her White Diamonds perfume. Elizabeth Taylor is amazing, and she was kind of this like man-eating, like sexual dynamo or something to me when I was a young kid. And she had these commercials that were like always on during the afternoon after school. And she just was so confident. And as an adult now, like reading about her, she was like quite a character and like an advocate. And she also just like, there's something really comforting about her and her story. So this piece, and she also had dogs, and she loved dogs. And she's stated like a few times that she may have loved her dogs more than she's loved like some of her husbands. She had like 7 husbands. So Daisy and Delilah were her last 2 dogs. They ended up, they're Shih Tzus. She had a bunch of Shih Tzus, and they ended up outliving her. So I stumbled across this series of photographs from this photographer, Catherine Opie. It said pause. Am I back? Can people hear me? Hello? Will someone like give me a yes, you can hear me? Oh, thumbs up. Okay, good. Cool. So I'm not sure what happened there, but I came across this series of photographs by Catherine Opie, and she got access to Elizabeth Taylor's house, and this was a year or so before Elizabeth Taylor died. But she took photos just of Elizabeth Taylor's like stuff and her living spaces, and I noticed looking through them that there were a lot of Shih Tzu figurines, and so I really wanted to make my own, and I did, and that's these guys. And then this next one is called An Outdated Portrait of the Artist. I guess I'm thinking of myself as the poodle. And then we've got the book and the band played on, and hair gel, and some yellow carnations. And it's outdated in the way that I probably wouldn't consider myself a poodle anymore, and also no one uses LA looks that I'm aware of, and the band played on has kind of turned into sort of a problematic book that perpetuated some not great ideas, but at the time it was like a portal into a world that involved like AIDS and death and fully realized gay men that I didn't always have access to living in Utah and growing up in Utah. So I ended up making like actual like 2-scale copies of the hair gel and the book, and that just seemed like important to me at the time. So this is that piece. And on SooVAC's website, they have the pieces on there, and some of them are for sale if you feel like you want to have these things in your life. But they also have pictures, and then on my website, I've updated it as well. So this is the next little nook. This piece is called Ruby Slipper Red AIDS Ribbons Tied into Pussy Bow with Lidless Poodle Urn. So I'll get a little closer. And in the video with Pa, we talk a lot about this piece, so I don't really know how much I want to get into it. But it's definitely was like one of my favorite to make. And these are all ceramic bows that are hanging on the wall. And I sort of thought about them as like wallpaper, like a wallpaper print. And then again, being like the rule being I wasn't going to do anything out of a material that wasn't ceramics. I just made a mold. I made 2 molds and made a bunch of these bows, and I'm pretty happy about it. And again, in the talk with Pa, I'm going pretty quick, so if you have questions, like I'll answer them in a minute. But I talk a little bit more seriously about some of this stuff with her. And I'm just kind of giving you a tour right now, but I can answer questions if you have them. This next piece is kind of riffing off of that one. And so these are black bows with spikes. And this is a matte glaze. And then a lot of these pieces I finished with something called luster, either pearlescent luster, white gold luster, or gold luster. So these are kind of based off of a piece I had done before, where I used like this rubber dip on a ceramic piece, and then I like glued actual metal spikes onto it. And I loved the look of that and kind of how that felt to me. So I wanted to recreate that all in clay. So I did that with these bows. I really like kind of the tonal shift between these two as you turn the corner. So we'll go, my cousin's joining us right when I get to asshole buddies. So this piece, asshole buddies, and this piece is called Riding in Cars with Boys. And it has some kind of phallic fruit, and pink bow. I kind of think of these two as sort of connected. They were both kind of this like sex education, like kind of hands-on and reading. I say it in the talk with Pa, but I would hope now like queer kids might have more resources for sex education than maybe they did when I was figuring stuff out. But these two pieces are definitely what I think of when I think about fumbling around trying to figure all of that stuff out. So I've now gone through all of them. And now I'm noticing that there are people that have typed things this entire time. Does anyone have questions that they would like me to answer? What would be a good backdrop while I'm answering questions? I can also walk around. Can we see the truck again? Yes, you can see the truck again. This is a Ford F-150, which through my extensive Google searching, what I found out was the number one selling truck in Utah. And I think it's probably like nationwide, but it was really fun to make. And it definitely seems familiar. Someone's asking, what style of art will you concentrate on in Chicago? I think that's my Aunt Lucy. In Chicago, I am going to... I'm going to be in the ceramics department at the School of the Art Institute in Chicago. This show wraps up me completing the Minnesota State Art Board grant. And then next week, I actually move to Chicago to do my first semester there. So it's kind of all coming at me at once. But yeah, that's the plan, is to focus on ceramics, but I'll probably still play around with other stuff as well. Is there any other questions? Oh, Candace asked why I'm so handsome. I don't know. I don't know if I agree with you, but that's really sweet. Was there any other pieces that people would like to see? I talked really fast. I'm sorry. Which piece do I feel most inspired by? I would say, I don't know, I think that they all feel like pretty, I guess, inspiring. I really love the heart, the flame. The tiles and the flame are both carved by hand off of this pattern that I had originally come up with as a repeat to print on fabric because I wanted, when I got the grant, to be able to screen print on fabric. But with the quarantine and the lockdown and the pandemic, I ended up not having access to that. So I took the pattern that I had drawn and I translated it onto clay and I just carved. So here would be considered like sgraffito, and then I just like carved away the same pattern onto this heart. Let's see. And then, Kara's saying, would love to hear you talk about the Mormon craft and decoration and your penchant for weird tchotchkes and how that influences your objects. That is a great question, and I probably mumbled, so I hope you all can see that or heard me. I think Mormon craft, I've talked about and thought a lot about kind of the idea, like growing up, and I'm sure they've changed the name of it now in the Mormon church, but it used to be called homemaking. I bet there's like a more PC term for that now. One of my cousins or aunts or uncles can probably answer that in the comments. But growing up, it was called homemaking. And I remember being really jealous that it was like kind of a girls or a woman's only night, and I wasn't really invited. So this to me is like, sometimes I think about like these really craft based works that I am attracted to, like as my time to shine in homemaking. And a lot of times the objects made on these homemaking nights were tchotchkes. Like you go to there's a Mormon-owned thrift store in Utah called the DI, Deseret Industries, and they have this whole section like in there of, it's called the wood section, I think, but it's like mostly like all crafts that I can just picture like Mormon ladies making on these homemaking nights. They're like 2 pieces of wood painted and hot glued together, and then sometimes they form a wreath. But you can kind of see them. There's just piles of them. So I think I'm making that sometimes. I don't know. And the objects, like, I like the idea that those cheap objects and mass-produced objects, for some reason, speak to people, and then they like hold onto them for a really long time until they're forced to maybe part with them. I know that happened with my grandma, and I inherited a lot of that stuff that I'm sure my aunt and uncles all thought were just a bunch of shit. I don't love the idea of sentimentality in my work, but I know it's there, and I try to think about that a lot and like how it works. It's called Enrichment Night is the new name. Okay. I learned something new. It doesn't sound it's not as spicy as Homemaking Night though. I think I might keep calling it Homemaking Night. Let's see. I was Mermaids 2. Homemaking, okay. Just Relief Society activities. Were there other questions up there that maybe you could repeat, because I don't want to have to scroll? Oh, someone asked how you think about color while making the pieces. I don't know. Color is obviously something that I like. I don't like to wear color, but I think it's just sort of, that sounds like a cop-out to say that it might just be kind of intuitive, but like for a while I thought maybe I would just do black and white, kind of like how I dress, and then I thought, someone said like, oh, you have a good color sensibility, and so now when picking out colors I kind of just trust my gut. Please tell us about the big bow and how I did it. I made it with clay. I was thinking a lot about, I guess I haven't talked about the ribbons. A lot about the bows. When I was reading into like what things can kind of, like ribbons can stand in for a lot, like they can represent like social causes like breast cancer or AIDS awareness. There's like the sayings of like where you would tie a ribbon around your finger to remember something, tie a ribbon around the old oak tree. And I kind of got into this deep dive about ribbons and bows and how bows are sort of this finishing touch on a gift or on an outfit. And I thought there was something poignant about that, but also like how now like the AIDS ribbon has gone from this really meaningful thing, and now it's just kind of the finishing touch of like a red carpet look at Oscars. And so at a certain point, it kind of loses its meaning. And as I was reading about it, I came across the term pussy bow, which is what these are here. And that basically, like on a woman's blouse, they would call it a pussy bow, and it's like these sashes that come down around the collar and then they tie it into a big bow. And it comes from the idea of like a kitty cat, like when someone get a kitten for a present, they would tie a bow around their neck. And after the Grab 'Em by the Pussy video came out of Donald Trump, the next night or a couple days later, there was a presidential debate, and Melania Trump showed up at the debate wearing a pussy bow. So there was like this talk of like, did she do it on purpose? Did her stylist do it? Like I found these chat rooms about it, or bulletin boards or whatever. And I just thought that was really interesting. So yeah, this is my wall of pussy bows. Let's see. Do I make sketches before I start working with clay? Sometimes I do. Usually when it comes to making a form, so like, what would I have sketched first? I definitely sketched the pussy bow first. And then I have to sort of figure out, maybe I'll do this, like where the contours are, and then I just sort of build off of the drawing. Other times, like I knew I wanted to make some kind of vessel that would be absurd, but hello? I am? Okay. Hi. Well, I don't know what you heard last. Did you hear me talking about? Okay. Well, the short answer, yes, I draw. I don't always make objects out of my drawings, but I do like to draw every day. Sorry that it paused. I don't know. I am back, right? Okay. Well, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to go the full hour because there is another talk you can watch on YouTube. Also, like, I don't know if you heard me say, on the SooVAC website there is a shop where you can look at the objects, and if you want to, you could buy them, or you could go to my website and you could see the photos from the show that are up. And that would be awesome as well. And that's chasebarney.com. And SooVAC is SooVAC.org.com. Or just follow the link in their account right now. When did you figure out you were an artist? Oh, I don't know. Sometimes I don't even know if I figured that out yet. I'm working on it. In progress. Org. It's SooVAC.org. Oh, link is in the SooVAC bio. Gosh, you all are so helpful. Are there any other questions? Anything else you want to see again? I guess I could do a quick walkthrough again for people that joined late, but I won't talk about everything. Do I do other types of art? Yeah, I do a lot of print, or I did do a lot of printmaking. I did a lot, and a lot of some photography, I would say, but clay is definitely like my material of choice at the moment. I don't know who Pancake Boobs is, but I like that name a lot. Hi. Oh, it's paused again? Richard, is it paused? Okay. Oh, not paused. Okay, be careful saying it's paused, because then I don't know what to do. Well, I don't know if I know what else to say, but I'm glad you all were able to come and check things out. If you have any last questions, you can post them now, or I might wrap up. All right. Well, again, this has been awesome. I hope that it was fun to hear me talk for 36 minutes straight. And I'm sorry if it paused. But there's still chances to see the work online, like I mentioned. Follow the link in SooVAC's account. They can take you to their website, or you can visit my website at www.chasebarney.com. Again, thanks to SooVAC and to Carolyn and Allison and everyone here at SooVAC for all your help. I'm excited to have this chance to show you guys, and yeah, thank you. Have a great Sunday. Bye.